Yeah. Welcome to Grawlix Nights, the Grawlix Podcast live show. I'm Randy.
I'm Melanie.
And I'm Jesse.
Hey, everybody. What's going on? We got things to talk about.
We do.
Yeah. For some reason, I just blinked on how I typically get into it beyond the actual regular intro spiel. But first, how are you two doing? We're just gonna we're speed running this.
Good.
Sweet.
We're good.
Yep.
I think usually you tell the listeners what we're gonna do, and then you go, but first, how are you guys doing?
I do. You're right. But I was like, we're gonna talk about the boys. That seems too brief. Is that it? That's what we got planned. Then the usual stuff.
Yeah.
Huh?
No, that's it.
Okay. Thank you for watching or listening, everybody. If you're listening on Helix Rock Radio, hi. If you're watching this elsewhere and you want to listen on Helix Rock Radio, I don't know if I can even tell you the URL because it's been banned from Meta.
That's right. On YouTube, we could tell you what it is. We can.
It's rockradio.live. Yeah, you're right. On YouTube, we can.
Yeah, and Twitch. Twitch people can listen to what we have to say and actually do something about it.
So, okay, enough inside baseball, I guess. I'm so angry. But
it's baseball season, baby.
Is it?
It is.
Who cares?
Baseball fans, I guess.
Oh. Hey, so we had last week off. God, was last week? The 4th of July was just last week?
Yeah.
It was. Wow.
Time is weird.
It feels. Yeah, it is.
And there's been no Doctor Who. It's weird now.
That's what it is.
Yeah. There's no Doctor Who. There's no Star Trek. There probably hasn't been Star Trek for a while, but I finally finished it. So there's not even Star Trek.
Yeah, I got the notification that the Disney Plus charge came out for the month, and I was like, oh, I forgot to cancel that.
Oh no.
I don't need it right now. There's nothing I'm watching on there right now. In fact, they irritated me the other day because I got on there and I was searching for stuff. I was like, aren't they supposed to have adult stuff? They own a whole bunch of movie studios.
Yeah.
Not adult stuff, but
Yeah.
Not just Disney stuff.
Basically Deadpool 2.
They do this hyper annoying thing now. It's all about channeling you into buying the bundle, the Hulu Plus bundle, because now they show you Hulu results. And if you go to click on it, it's like upgrade. It's like, I didn't click Hulu in here. I clicked Disney Plus. I hate it. I hate that. It's that Amazon style of, Hulu's been doing it itself for a long time, but the Amazon style of here's all the movies we have. Oh no, you can't watch any of those unless you pay extra.
Yeah. I do like having Hulu and Disney under the same bundle though, because I have the no ads, and I was never going to pay for that with Hulu. So now I have Hulu without ads, and it's a game changer. I hated Hulu's ads.
Yeah, I mean, and Hulu is terrible about it.
Their ads were bad. They were always the same.
And it's not to say there's not good stuff on Hulu, but that's $20.
Sure.
It's 20 for no ad. I just was looking the other day because of this whole situation. That's $20, and I'm like, I'm not paying $20 for any of the other streaming services, and the amount of stuff that I would actually watch on here does not compare to the streaming services I am paying for. So I can't justify it. So I'm gonna cancel it until, I don't know, what's the next series? I get Doctor Who until Doctor Who comes back. I can't think of what else. Mandalorian, is that ever coming back?
I don't know.
Maybe that, but
yeah. Or if they give Andor a second season.
Right.
that.
Yeah, Andor was good. Stuff
But
like
I don't
that.
care about Acolyte. I mean, I'm sure it's fine.
And I haven't checked any of it out. Yeah.
I'd like to watch
Yeah.
Ahsoka, but Ahsoka's basically like a live action version of the cartoon Rebels. And so like there's like 4 seasons of Rebels, so I feel like I can't even watch that.
Oh, X-Men 97, if that comes. I'm assuming season 2.
Yeah.
So that's what you got to do, Disney. You want to keep me around, you got to have at least one series going all the time.
That's right.
Yeah.
It'd be like Netflix and have a lot of series, but just cancel them. Wait till we're invested first.
I just hate everything today.
Cool.
Netflix is the worst. This will segue into what we've been watching lately. Melanie and I watched a series on Netflix that we hadn't watched before called Requiem. It's very good. And even though it's just one season, which is where I'm going, it's just one season, I think it's still worth a watch. Some shows, like at this point, I'd be hesitant to recommend something like 1899 or Archive 81 to somebody based on the fact that they're going to be disappointed when the cliffhanger is never resolved.
Right.
And
rightly so, because that Archive 81 cliffhanger was nonsense.
Right. So I would recommend Requiem. It's like a, somewhat, it's almost like foreign moody detective, except it's not a detective show, and it's got supernatural thing going on. And it takes Wales. I've been watching lots of stuff to put place.
John Constantine
set in Wales.
With Wales, I'm in.
But it takes place mostly in Wales.
Wales, the country.
And between Doctor Who and this show, the people of Wales seem like jerks. I mean, they might be fine.
I mean, but the king was the Prince of Wales, so
right.
Yeah.
I mean, Wales. There's a lot of attitude. In that country. It seems. Anyway, it was good. I feel like it came to a fairly satisfactory conclusion. But then afterwards, I was reading more, and I was like, well, what was the deal with this guy? And there were, all the articles are from around the time the first season ended, and it was the showrunner like, well, we hold this back, and we held this back for a potential season two. And that was like 2018, and it never got picked up for season 2. And I'm like, oh, that's so annoying. And I think it was, I don't know, maybe it was like a BBC thing or something, and then Netflix picked it up. But I feel like it was a joint co-production, in which case it's like, I'm just going to blame Netflix again. It's their fault.
Yeah. Glow. She got on the plane.
Glow is another one. I think you can... I kind of expected it to end with that last season. But then it didn't. They were shooting the next season before it got canceled. So Glow is one I would still recommend. It's a little disappointing where it ends, but like it kind of makes sense if you wanted to end the story there, I guess.
Mm-hmm. They should always do it like that, just in case.
Right.
Yeah. Especially if you're pitching something specifically to Netflix. Each season, like, leave little danglers or whatever. Leave a place you could go. But also make sure, just treat every season like it's your last.
Have you guys watched Hunters off of Amazon?
Mm-mm.
It's interesting. It's this band of Nazi hunters. Al Pacino is like the head Nazi hunter guy or whatever. And there's all these twists and turns, and you find out people who are dead aren't really dead, and people who you think are good guys are not good guys, and people who you think are bad guys are not bad guys. It's very Battlestar Galactica if it were about Nazis. And it's a period piece too, so it's like in the 70s.
Battlestar if it was about Nazis.
Well, like everybody is or isn't a Cylon. I don't know.
Okay, I gotcha.
It's like, oh, he's a Nazi?
Interesting.
Yeah, that's one I would recommend. And that one was the reason I bring that one up is it's two seasons, and it's only supposed to be 2 seasons. But the second season, by the end of the second season, you're like, no, I want more. And it it feels like the universe and the world continues, but it's a good ending. It's a satisfying ending.
What was that show, Melanie? We watched it a while back. It had Capaldi in it, in which he was like a serial killer that they were chasing after, I guess.
Devil's Hour?
Yes.
Probably.
Did that ever come back for
Yes.
season 2?
Not yet.
Not
But-
yet. He's done other shows.
I know.
What-
I know.
He's done other series
I don't
since
know.
then.
As far as I know, it was still going to come back, but I haven't heard anything about it in a while. Amazon's kind of interesting with their schedules for sure.
Mhm.
Wouldn't surprise
wait.
me if they didn't renew it because Paper Girls.
Was that the one where they could go through time or something like that?
Yeah,
yeah.
like he's
was
not
like a-
supposed to be there or something. Like the kid isn't
Right, because his dad's a bad word.
something. Yeah. Oh, his dad was awful.
Okay, so here's what I'm finding. Yeah, man, streaming series are so weird with their they're consistently inconsistent with their scheduling. Because apparently, according to the last information I'm seeing, season 2 was filmed. Season 3 had began or was filming in February. And maybe they're going to release season 2 towards the later part of this year. Why? What is that? What is that schedule?
Yeah, what's the holdup on that? I mean, it's not like, like you have already forgotten the name of the show.
Right.
You're like,
right.
that's not a good sign. That is an indicator that maybe it's time to put out season 2.
That show ended on a crazy twist, and not necessarily like a twist in that like things were revealed. It's like the show pivoted, and you're like, wait, what are they? How
Yeah,
do
it was
they
like
proceed
the
from
mom
here?
in another universe or something.
Oh man, yeah, technically, like characters you followed the whole season. Spoilers, we're dead, and so like weird twist. Man, I hope it does come back. It is weird that they're like, I mean, if they were shooting the 3rd season in February, that's definitely done shooting now.
Yeah.
So they've got 2 seasons in the can. They haven't released them yet.
This is waiting for a dead time. We're
No,
like,
that
okay,
could
listen,
be-
we're putting out the Lord of the Rings show right now, so it would get lost anyways. We're going to wait until we have a lull where we don't have any shows to put out. Otherwise, Randy's just going to drop the service.
I was about to say it's the Disney Plus thing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's the same reason I don't have Max right now. I mean, I guess House of the Dragon started again, but that ain't
Oh,
worth it
House of the
for me.
Dragon, it's been good.
It's good.
I mean,
I mean,
it's been kind of slow actually, but not, but now we're into proper like dragon battles and people dying. I mean, I guess people died already, but like now, like big people are dying, like people
Right.
you've seen since I guess this is only season 2, since the beginning of season 1.
At the beginning of season 1 of this spinoff.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that was like, you don't want major characters that you enjoy to die. But with shows, Game of Thrones built its popularity on that.
Yeah.
Right from the first episode, murdering, you're like, oh, this guy is definitely a main character. I mean, it's not an actor who inexplicably gets killed in every role he's cast in, but,
Right.
come on.
Right.
And then they kill who seems like one of the main characters first episode.
Yeah.
But then after a while, it did fall into the issue of like, I think they got down to characters of like, we can't kill these people or else
Yeah.
the audience is going to be really upset. And that definitely did rob it of like, I don't know. Yeah, it's upsetting when they kill characters you like, but that is Yeah.
Basically every Stark that ever existed.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's what made that show stand out. And it's
If it was
good
Sansa,
when a
and I don't think too
show.
many people would have been upset about it.
Right.
Well, that was the other. That's like the flip side of that. Is not killing characters you hate. You know, like I
Yes,
think
we
they
do.
got almost more mileage of keeping somehow characters, just the worst, most loathsome characters, kept surviving despite what it seemed like, and that's almost more frustrating than them killing a character you like.
And then they make you like them, the bad guys. That sucked.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, man. It was really Game of Thrones was really good
See,
for
like,
most of its runtime.
TikTok and Reels is really TikToking me off, because like they're just telling me things about the book every once in a while, and it'd be like, oh man, I was really hoping this guy was dead. You know, like they don't tell you he's dead or anything, but they were like, ooh, he might be dead. And I was like, he's probably not dead. But then I get a TikTok that's like, he lived to be really old and obese and just died as a corpulent, rotting blob.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Cool. Well, that ruined that part for me. Thanks, Book Talk.
Are you? Man, I just can't do I just can't do TikTok. I just don't have anything to post on there. I don't want to post a video all the time. That's I think my main thing.
Oh,
And know
I fell off pretty badly. I'm not doing
Oh.
nearly as much stuff as I was.
Savannah says, "I've got over 10,000 followers now, and now I just don't want to do it."
Yeah. You
That's funny.
you work hard to get there or whatever, and then it's like, now what?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Cool.
Yep.
Would be nice to have 10,000 followers, though. Not gonna lie.
It'd be it'd be much nicer than hopping on a live stream every week and seeing the eyeball icon indicating how many viewers sitting at effing 0 every week.
It's fine. We're on Helix Rock Radio. Suck it, Meta.
Yeah, you're right. At rockradio.live. That's how you get there. I hope you're
That's how
listening.
you get
Meta.
there. Yeah.
Tag
it.
So, anyway, back to what we were talking about.
I'm a bitter old man. Let me be angry. What were we talking about?
Well, we've watched.
I think we were talking about subscriptions or something, and I was going to say, do like the rest of the world and just make new email addresses. Get
And just
trials.
trial surf
Continually.
forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually posted a thing about that either today or yesterday. And it was like, I can't use the actual words it said, but it's like, if you get poop butt 69 at whatever, and then a week later it's poop butt 70 at whatever, and then a week later it's poop butt 71 at whatever, because you get like a week free trial or something.
Yeah.
They don't pay attention to that stuff. They don't care.
Life hack.
There we go.
I mean, that actually might be considered just a hack. I don't know. But
Look, they're a big family.
Yep.
The noble poop butts of Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
of Pennsylvania. You're speaking to our crowd.
I did. I
That's-
know. Yeah. I was. I want to shout out my peeps.
Hey there, Pennsylvania. How's it going?
Hey.
Well, I mean, okay, so Helix Rock Radio is like, it's online, so it's going everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming, I don't know if it's outside the States. I'm assuming it is, but regardless, we're definitely all over the States. But Helix Rock Radio headquarters, mainly Brandon, is in Pennsylvania, and that's where he does a lot of the promotion. So I know he
So a lot of
pushes
our
for
listeners are
Pennsylvania
probably going to be
listeners.
based around that area. Yeah.
Yeah.
At least
I got nothing.
the organic listeners. Yeah.
Yep. Got nothing bad to say about you, Pennsylvanians, as far as I know. But don't worry, I'll find something. Jesse, you've been watching or consuming anything else interesting?
So I've been working my way through. Well, I just mentioned that I finished up Star Trek Discovery, which has been
Hmm.
probably done for a while, but I finally finished it, and that was another one where they knew that they had to finish it because I think the streaming deal, I think like all these stupid mergers and whatnot.
Oh,
I think it was something
right.
where it's like, okay, well, we gotta finish this up before something happens because whatever. And so they knew it was coming to an end, but like with Star Trek, you can flash forward and do all sorts of stuff, and they can always
Right.
big finish this thing if they ever wanted to make like a movie or something. They could always bring the cast back, that kind of thing. And I know they're going to do a spinoff with at least one of the characters, and so any of these characters that want to like make cameos probably can. But it was good. It was a pretty well done series finale. They did jump the shark and do some weird stuff in this last season, but I mean, isn't that what a last season is for? It's like, well, we don't
Right.
have time to do anything weird anymore. Let's do all the weird stuff because I mean, it's all or nothing now, right? So let's do weird stuff. They did some like time loops and all sorts of
Hmm.
stuff. There's
Okay.
some interesting episodes in there. So that, and then I've been mentioning it in the chat. I've been working my way through Sweet Tooth, the new season, and it's the last season too. And man, this show just continues to. And we've talked about Sweet Tooth in the past, and we've even made this exact commentary. But it's just like, man, they're continuing that. Like it has a kid show vibe, and yet somehow they managed to make it as dark as possible, sometimes even darker than the comic. And I use this as the example. The comic is so dark. Like they just turn down a way and they're like, "Oh, well, we could go this way, but there's a heaping mound of dead bodies. Maybe we shouldn't go that way." Like that's the comic. It's just like bluntly dark. Like this is a dark world. But in this, it's like, you guys are gonna get there, and this isn't really a spoiler because they totally shift the characters. But like in the comics, there are these feral dog boys that are like they're hybrids that are just like they're feral. They're like dogs, but they're clearly hybrids, and and they're just there, like they're kind of like the pets of the leader of the group or whatever. But in the show, they give him a mom. They give him like a mom and this whole thing, and it's just like, oh, how can you make this worse? You give him a mom, and then she still has to treat him like feral dog people that wear muzzles and are on leashes and aren't treated like the other like we've seen what intelligent hybrids are basically like people, right?
Yeah.
But then these poor dog people are just treated like dogs by their own mom, who doesn't even want to treat them like that, but she does because her mom, so the mom's mom is a racist. So yeah, and then Gus has got to bury some bodies. like this show, it's just
Wow.
whoa. It just gets so dark.
It's
Yeah.
such a yeah. That's so. We fell off. We will pick it up. We fell off last season at some point, and part of it was like it was spending a lot of time with the super goofy group of kids,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the same deal where it's like the show, their designs, and sometimes even the way they act. It's almost like the show's like, yeah, no, this is a kids show,
Yeah.
but they're also at the same time enslaved in this and imprisoned in this little cell, and then occasionally one of them will get taken to be murdered, and it's like, oh,
You get murdered. Yeah, a little
Yeah.
kid,
get murdered.
animal
It,
kid, murdered
is
for their
weird.
brain fluids
Hmm.
or
It's
stem
like
cells or something.
it's like the worst for everybody. Like people who get sad when an animal dies, and people who get sad when a person dies.
Right, right.
It's got this whole like early Harry Potter vibe, but not like so dark. People dying and getting sick and whew.
Like, Gryffindor's list.
Schindler's List is like Slytherin's
took-
list.
Yeah, it took me. I was trying to think of like I'm not like a Potterhead, so it took me a second to try to like grab a name that made sense in that. Yeah, okay, a little bit. It's kind of like that. Took like Harry Potter, and Nazis.
Oh God, yeah, a little bit. Oh my God.
God, Nazis keep coming up this episode. That's not good. Let's avoid the Nazi talk. We got enough of that.
My bad.
Just generally.
I mentioned the Nazi show.
Wait, so here's what we're talking about. You either got Harry Potter with Nazis, or you got Galaxy, not Galaxy Quest.
Battlestar Galactica.
Battlestar Galactica with Nazis.
Yeah. Or superheroes as a fascist regime
with Nazis. Well,
to be fair, last season at least. Yeah.
The obvious outright Nazi isn't in the show anymore. The only other thing before we jump into the boys, I think that I've got is we've been watching, of course, My Hero Academia. Nobody cares about that. But we started watching Chainsaw Man, which is also not a new show. But the anime, Melanie finally twisted my arm into putting it on, and yeah, it's awesome. It's pretty cool. It's crazy.
I believe it's based on a manga also.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and
We don't know what gets about anime though, so we can move on.
Yeah.
The boys. So yeah, last time we talked about it, Melanie and I were not current, but I believe we're all currently up to date on the episodes.
We're currently concurrently current.
Yeah. Yes. Yesterday, season 4, episode 7, I think it was, came out. I think yesterday. And yeah, Melanie and I just watched that this evening before the show. Might be a little reason why the stream was slightly late. So we got a few episodes to catch up on, and a lot of big stuff happened in it.
A lot.
So okay, where do you guys want to start with this? Let's talk about the boys.
Okay, well, what was the last thing we talked about when we talked about it? Do we remember?
Who knows?
Okay, we had left when we talked about it on Grawlix last, we had just watched the episode where Huey's dad gets the V, but they left it on that cliffhanger there.
Oh.
So we didn't actually see him wake up from the V.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So he wakes up from the V, and everything's happy and good and happily ever. Nothing goes bad.
For a while.
Yeah. That's how that worked out.
I will say, okay, let's talk about that. We listen. If you've seen The Boys, you know what we're talking about. If you haven't seen The Boys, I don't know how much it makes sense to like go into great detail. But basically, yeah, Huey's dad gets the V. He wakes up from his stroke-induced coma that he was about to have. They were literally about to pull the plug on him. And
we're gonna spoil the crap out of a bunch of these episodes. So
yeah.
Get ready for spoilers.
But things don't go super great. Like he seems pretty fine. Until it's clear that there's a serious cognitive decline and amnesia or whatever. Like
he was brain dead.
Yeah.
So while he comes back and he has decent moments of just being like with it, he will often then it's like
Dementia.
Dementia. Yes, thank you. Also, he happens to start getting superpowers, which is something Huey should have seen coming and should have been like, okay, first off, we need to talk. Real talk.
Yeah.
But they didn't
He tried that. It just came too late.
Yeah.
When he had decided not to use it. He wasn't going to use
true.
it. It was his mom that found the vial and was like, wait, I thought you wanted that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a little weird. I feel like that's a little bit of a cop-out of it'd actually be pretty messed up if Huey did this, but we still want it to happen. So,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Well, but I think it was kind of the point was he picked his mom as his next to be in charge of his decisions rather than Huey because he didn't think Huey would be able to do the right thing. But it was the mom that did the wrong thing, though, and Huey was the one that. So his dad was wrong, basically.
That's true.
Well, yeah, and it narratively it did set that up, didn't it? So
Yeah. So
fair enough.
I will
But-
say my. Oh,
No,
go ahead. No, please.
no, you go.
I talk enough on this show. I think every listener will agree. But I just wanted to say, my criticism of this whole thing, it is pretty heartbreaking, especially Huey's dad, who's just been the most like. It's Simon Pegg for one, and he's playing the most dad like. Goofy
so
kind of
good.
dad character. Not goofy in like a way, but just like I don't know how to explain it, how to describe him, but he's such a like just likable out there on his own regular dude
Like
character.
So spoilers for the like he died
Mhm.
because they have to, because he's basically been brought back Frankenstein style and has a few moments of clarity because of the V, but then like to drive home the character that is Simon Pegg's dad character, they spread his ashes on the Made in Manhattan celebrity tour or whatever.
Yeah,
Because he
yeah.
loved that movie. And it becomes the first touchstone for the wayward mom and Huey, where it's like, it's such a bad movie. Why did he love
Right.
it so much? Yeah.
And Da Vinci Code, stuff like that. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
My criticism, though, other than that it's really horrible, some of the things he inadvertently did, or accidentally did. It seemed that whole happening seems so kind of compressed. I believe it was all just one episode. Like he wakes up, all the stuff happens, and they end up putting him down basically, all one episode.
So
and
then we must have talked about the firecracker Starlight thing, where she did a live thing outside of the Starlight camp, basically,
with the abortion and all that.
Yeah. So we must have talked about that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I think so. Is that the one where they killed her Firecracker's friend, the centipede guy, human centipede?
Oh, that might have been before that even.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
The human centipede guy.
Oh, the human centipede.
Multiple man.
Yeah,
the
that was
version of
before that.
multiple
That was
man.
before that.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
No, that episode. I was thinking you were talking about the guy who Billy Butcher got in a fight with, and then like woke up and he was just exploded everywhere.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that guy too.
Okay,
So while that's happening, they're basically trying to track down the scientist in the virus or whatever on a farm.
Yeah.
That takes such a. First off, it's a weird scenario where they bust out Fring. It's not his name in this, but they didn't bust him out. They got him like pardoned or whatever, and take him on a little road trip to this farm, and then God, all their names are escaping me. Head popper lady shows up, and they all just like, all right, well let's take a little hike through this farm. And there's even moments where they stop and different characters have personal moments together. I was like, this is weird. Like,
It was weird.
whatever. But that chicken's on V. Or that's a V chicken or whatever they say. There were some great lines, but yeah, farm animals all V'd up out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And chickens busting through people's chests and flying sheep.
Victoria Newman is the.
That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, they say her name like every episode. I should know. Even in the spin-off show, she was kind of a major character in the spin-off show. So, ridiculous. But there's some great lines in that episode.
They're all scared of the bull and then the sheep.
It doesn't make
The
sense.
sheep are
Why would
flying around around.
I know they're Vita, but why would they suddenly become like super carnivores? It's
Yeah.
so
That's
ridiculous.
right. They're like vampire sheep too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Oh
they
my
even
God.
sheep don't eat meat, right? They're
That
like
would have
herbivores,
had
right?
that would have had to be no, yeah, they're herbivores. That would have been the hardest thing to act around. You know, like
Yeah.
you want me to pretend what is happening now?
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. That was it. I think that was their. I've talked about it before. Every season, they'll try to go for more than one, but they got to at least have one ridiculous sequence that's they know will stand out and stick.
This
in
was
people's
their
mind.
laser babies.
This was their laser babies, yes, for sure. Or epic puppet slaughter like the spin-off show had. Just there's got to be something. Um,
Well, those
Kentucky
puppets
Fried
show up
Massacre.
in this too.
Yeah.
Well, like
They
the
do.
puppets showed up today in the most recent episode.
Yeah, but those
Oh,
were
there were
actual
puppets.
puppets, not imaginary mind puppets.
Oh,
That
gotcha.
character though, that character actually from the spin-off show, who basically the puppets were like, he kind of would lose his mind and talk to puppets, and then when he'd go on a rampage, he'd see people as puppets, and
Oh,
that
man.
character was in
V Avenue.
not this episode, the episode before.
Oh,
Him and the blonde lady from that show. They were both from the spin-off shows, but they were in
Yeah.
V Tower for a scene. I don't remember what they were even doing.
Yeah, I don't really either. But I do remember them being there. And I remember them mentioning the others from that show, but they were missing, maybe they said.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that one guy unfortunately passed away. That really sucks. He was pretty good.
Yeah.
He's like a main character from that show too. It was the guy who played Sabrina the teenage witch's brother in Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, or whatever he was, or his relation was to her. But he was in the spin-off series, but he passed away not long ago. Farm Animals, Kentucky Fried Massacre.
and then they like then Butcher goes, full Butcher, and hacks a guy's leg off and stuffs him in a van or something, and steals the scientist, which everybody else thinks is dead because sheep.
Yeah.
I mean, that wasn't just Billy Butcher though. He was
Oh,
being
no.
helped by Negan.
Yeah.
That's
Daddy's
I did
home.
refer. That's right. Okay, so yeah, they even made a point of like. First off, I think their decision to they had one vial of virus, to shoot it into the corpse of a guy that would happen to be there, and then throw it out so the sheep would eat it and all like fall over. I think that's a risky decision because
Yeah.
Thank you.
Because this guy's dead, right? Like,
Right.
would that even work? Was one thing that I was like, oh, would that work? Because
Yeah.
he's dead.
That's what I'm
It's-
thinking. There's no circulation going on. It's not through his
Yeah.
whole body. It's in the one
Yeah.
spot they injected it. I don't think it would have worked. I think that we're you're supposed to have suspension of disbelief just so the story will work.
Right.
right, and that wouldn't affect all.
Once
the
you got
animals
V'd
either.
up chickens and sheep, it's not much of a leap.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Like if you
I
can handle
suppose.
super chickens and super vampire sheep, then yeah.
I feel like the creators of I feel like the creative team behind the show would be like, really? That's what you got a problem with? We got flying
Yeah.
sheep eating people, and it's but the corpse wouldn't actually
Really, I
you
think
know.
this is their get out of jail card for anything that people have problems with. We're like, that sheep don't eat people, right? We're
Yeah.
like,
right.
what about your political allegory? We had flying sheep.
Mm.
You mad, bro?
They also showed a what is that called? The temporary V. Like was it a bunny or a guinea pig or something that had temp V, and Butcher released it, and then you see it later off in a bush,
Oh yeah.
like with some weird tentacle creature just poking out of it, and he stomps on it. So we have to assume maybe that that might be something that's going to happen to him. Which
Or it is
frustrating.
happening to him. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Because we keep seeing something crawling under the surface of his skin.
yeah.
Uh,
Gross.
kind of jumping to different characters real quick, and this, I believe, started that episode, but we kind of see a little bit more of the development in this episode. The son, Billy Butcher, and Homelander's whatever, the son that they're essentially fighting over. He's so waffling. He's like waffling
Yeah.
because that scenario that Homelander like put him in, like reprimanding the guy who was, I guess, essentially sexually harassing his like assistant. That went weird. You know, really, the only
Yeah.
way to address that is like, okay, you're fired. Like that's the appropriate
Right.
way to deal with it, I think, unless it's like a criminal assault lawsuit worthy situation, that you fire the guy. But then to have her slapping him repeatedly, for one, puts her in an awkward situation, and it's just obviously, you know, it's not quite the correct way to deal with it. But he was clearly kind of enjoying that power in a real creepy way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so it's like, oh, now we're getting an indication that this kid is like, he might be swinging.
Yeah.
Towards
He
the
is his
Homelander
father's
path.
son. He is a chip off
Right.
the old block.
But then this latest episode, you get the whole deal with the Christmas song and him being like, hey, you know, maybe see something, say something, and turning in your family and people who maybe are, you know, dress as a gender that you don't think they should dress as, and all this, like, this
Yeah.
crazy song. He's like, this seems wrong. And, yeah, he's seen something, and so he said something about it. Oh, Jesse bounced out. He's like, I'm done with it.
Bye.
But yeah, no, I mean, he recognized that this song was morally wrong, and
Yeah.
you know, didn't go along with it.
Mhm.
Hold on,
And
man, Jesse back.
I think, yeah, I think the
He's
the
back.
family aspect is really what did it for him the most, because
Yeah.
he doesn't. I don't think he still doesn't really feel like his dad is his family. Um, and so then, yeah, then putting that part about tell on your family in there, m- m- maybe pointed that out to him, though, you know, that his dad isn't his family or doesn't know how to be a family. So, you know,
When he got the
Right, and they
present
kind of-
from Butcher.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna say they reinforced that with the picture he got from Butcher, and Homelander leaving the message, being too busy to kind of deal with whatever Ryan, there's his name, whatever Ryan's dealing with, and just saying, I think specifically, just suck it up and do it, which
Right.
comes like an episode or so after Homelander's like, you don't have to listen to anybody. There are
Right.
no rules anymore. And then he goes and just turns around and is like, just suck it up and do it. So,
yeah.
yeah. You still don't know which way this kid's going to swing, though.
Right.
Yeah. But
Speaking of swinging, the episode before this one,
Yeah.
Sex Dungeon.
Oh, yeah,
that's
yeah.
gross, man.
You know what really got me about that set? And this is whatever. This is just, I guess, the urinal. Like, he's got this wall of stuff, and there's these sex, I don't know, rigs. What would you call them? These things set up everywhere, and there's all these gnarly looking toys and stuff, and a disgusting urinal on the wall as a part of the play set. It's just like,
Yeah.
why?
Yeah.
And also, is that really what cake farts is?
Oh
I've
my
always
God.
I've heard the term as like a gross joking thing, but then they actually do it, and the guy's like, "Oh, it's so hot, man!" I busted up laughing.
That's so
I-
weird.
I want to know who the sidekick is. I'm curious.
Yeah. So Tech Knight is that, and that's
Mhm.
Huey's favorite childhood superhero, who basically sexually abuses him in this episode. But yeah, like who was the guy in who was the previous sidekick? And has Tech Knight ever had a sidekick, or is that just his weird name for what goes on in the dungeon?
His dungeon dwellers?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Tech Knight?
He was in the spin-off, wasn't he? He was
You're
the
right.
interview. He's a detective guy that came and had a TV show too, I believe.
Yeah.
And they kind of blackmailed him out. He's the one they kind of blackmailed out of like doing the story because they had all this video footage of him like
Trying to get
compulsively
on with trees and stuff.
anything with a hole
Yeah,
or
pretty
not
much.
even that. Anything
Jeez.
like inanimate objects. Like, so I didn't realize it till just now, but yeah, they established what a like sexual deviant he was in the spin-off show, and they tripled down on it in this.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it got real uncomfortable, man. Like, I mean, obviously it was
Some of-
supposed to, but
Is her name Ashley, the character?
Ashley, yeah.
Some of the lines they gave her, you have to wonder what goes through some of these actors' minds when they get a script.
They have some bonus. They have some bonus stuff.
Oh no!
On Amazon Prime, they have bonus stuff if you go in like on each episode, and they talked specifically about this part and how she how she researched the part. Like she talked to Doms and stuff, and and talked about how she had to deliver the lines and whatnot. It's just like everybody was like, "Man, you did that so well." It was so ridiculous and whatnot, and like how you delivered it without cracking and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I was wondering, and probably not, but it seems like the kind of thing where she probably got more screen time than you would think, but it's probably because she's willing to do all kinds of crap like that and other craziness. I could be wrong,
Right.
but
She maybe not a lot of character development. But she's got a lot of screen time this season. I feel like
Yeah.
more so than other seasons.
right.
And I guess a little bit of I mean, there's character development. But it's more like she kind of, for the most part, doesn't seem like she knows what to do
Right.
Yeah.
from from a character point of view. But
She's
There's
had
a lot-
every
Interesting.
opportunity to leave, and she still can't.
Yeah. There was a line that I really liked from, I don't remember if it was from this episode or the one before, but she was talking to A Train, and she said something like, "It's so easy to become a monster here." And I'm like, yeah, because
Yeah.
that's like that's this environment they put you in and set it up so that if you don't, then you are potentially die.
Right.
Okay, so yeah, so we're talking a little bit about this week's episode. Why didn't maybe A Train can't kill the Deep in the new Black Noir, but why didn't he try? I feel like A Train could have done something with the Deep. Some of their powers are very inconsistent, including like Newman's, where it's like, okay, so she could do the head pop thing, but also she's invulnerable to getting shot in the head and bullets. Like that earlier
Yeah,
this season,
yeah,
they did
it's
that.
hard to
Where
see
she gets
what.
shot point blank and she's like fine. It's like, oh, she's also invulnerable. When was that a thing?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The
And
V
the-
powers are like weird. They're
Yeah.
hard to like track sometimes. Like the new Black Noir. It's like, well, what's his powers? He just has every powers, but he falls asleep randomly.
He's got narcolepsy.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. He's just,
can fly?
I guess, as strong as the other Noir was, but can also fly, but can't do
So,
that
like,
because he's
What are the limits? Like, where is he not like Homelander? It's like, but Homelander
Yeah.
is clearly here, and everybody else is here. But like, how here is he?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
took constant shots from shotguns and then a minigun. Like what is?
Yeah.
I kind of don't like that. Like it seems a little wishy-washy. And I guess I get that they don't want to make it too easy, but like they had so much trouble figuring out how to kill like the first soup they killed and Huey killed in the first season.
Mm-hmm.
But that's because his skin was like diamond hard. Like there was a specific reason. And it kind of seems like at this point, if they have some random power, they're also just invulnerable. And that doesn't seem right.
Right.
Unless you're Starlighter, in which case your powers are just going to go on the fritz now. For no apparent reason, and who knows when they'll be back.
That's also frustrating and irritating. Yeah, I'm a little irritated with how they're handling the powers. That reminds me, this is a slight side tangent. We tried a new show on Netflix. And the show might be okay, but the first episode did not grab me. But it's called Supercell. And it's a superhero show, except it seems like the only people that develop superpowers are black people. So it's like British. One of the lead characters is Ryan from Doctor Who. So as soon as he popped up, I was like, oh, he's not going to let that happen.
Right.
Melody's like, you better not try to ride a bike.
Yeah.
Oh no.
But
that'd be hard to take it seriously with him in it at all. But
it was a little distracting at first. He plays a different, much more like confident type character. So the guy's got range. Their accents though are so thick.
We had to turn closed captioning on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I had to and whatever. It's the British, but it's that. I don't know it well enough. It's that particular
like a Cockney
very
accent?
thick.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd say it's that, but it's.
I think it is
very thick. Very.
A lot of planets have a north.
Right. It was okay. I think the concept itself is interesting. The characters seemed a little generic. So the drama, and it seemed like it's going to lean more towards the drama, which is fine. Yeah. But it didn't really hook me. I didn't really get invested in many of the characters. His name's not Ryan, but the Ryan character I think was maybe the more interesting one, for sure. But then at the end, they do the thing where there's kind of because there's a little time travel thing going on at one point. They do a flash forward type thing to where you see a bunch of the characters you've been watching this episode using their powers. And it felt like Heroes. It felt like the TV show Heroes.
No.
And I was like, the concept's interesting, but at this point in time, 2024, you can't do, this guy just has super speed. This lady has telekinetic powers. This guy can jump through time, but only randomly, and he can't really control it, or otherwise he'll break the plot. This guy is super strong. And it's like, those are the most bare bones, basic superpowers. Heroes in the early aughts could get away with it. Because there were no other superhero shows like that at that point in time. 2 decades into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you can't just be doing basic ratchet superpowers. There's got to be something else beyond the concept of beyond the concept of it's just black people. Well, that's interesting in a plot point, but that's not interesting in a superhero point of view. It felt anyway.
It's not just that it's black people. It's people, because it seemed like from what we watched that it had something to do with sickle cell anemia. That's why it's called Supercell, because the people that had it all were related to people that, or not all, I guess, but at least several of the characters that we were introduced to were related to somebody that had sickle cell. So I think that's part of it, and why they're all black too.
And that is an interesting premise, I think. But man, it was just so once the superpower started coming in, it felt like the most, and maybe that was the point. Maybe it was go back to basics. But it's the effects didn't look bad, but it still looked like a TV show, and it just felt like Heroes. And it's we already did Heroes. In this,
unless you're doing I Am Not Okay With This, you know?
Right.
Like, then you need to do something interesting with the powers. Otherwise, it's got to be like that, where it's like the powers are, it's less about the powers and more about how she's growing up. And this is just
Yeah.
another thing she's going to have to deal with.
Right.
And I kind of feel like I said, it leaned more into the drama. So, and I think that's the angle. It's just the drama didn't hook me beyond that first episode. Like I contemplated watching another one, and I was like, yeah, I don't watch something else.
Right.
Whatever.
Yeah, they because they tried to focus on too many characters for the team, but then that doesn't give you enough time to get to know any of the characters to care. That's the problem.
It's like The Boys with less sex dungeon.
Yeah, I mean,
Way
Sure.
the
too
sex
many
dungeon.
characters, though. I mean, like, way too many characters in this show.
What
but-
got me thinking about that though is, and I get not everybody's going to want to do this, but The Boys seems like, and I'm sure this comes from the comic, you do have your run of the mill basic, like, Homelander's basically a Superman. Like you have your regular characters, but
And the
most of
Deep
the other,
Yeah.
some of those powers are weird, or they're
Yeah.
powers you've seen before, but handled in a real weird way, like that shapeshifter we were just introduced to, where they
Oh,
can
yeah.
Yeah.
touch you and
Oh,
absorb what you're going to look like, but then they have to like rip the skin off their current costume, face off and stuff. Like what? Gross! Like stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Like a
Yeah.
lizard. Like they do a lizard thing with their eyes. So I
Yeah.
think that
Yeah.
must be it. Like they're shapeshifters,
Oh,
but it's
you're
like
right.
a lizard kind of analog.
Shedding the skin.
Like a-
I didn't even
like
make
a-
that connection.
chameleon
Yeah.
shedding
But also-
thing.
like what's that one? The spin-off, the one girl like could get bigger or small, had to binge eat or purge to get bigger or smaller.
Yeah, it was literally a
An eating
Bulimia? Ooh.
Yeah.
yeah. It was an eating disorder superpower.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that's gross and a bit on the nose, but interesting. Like to commit to it. Yeah. And that also creates the interesting thing with her, and not all the characters have this in The Boys, of like, so you have the superpower that seems like it'd be great, but like in reality, if you look at it in any kind of realistic way, it's like they did basically anatomically correct Spider-Man this season. The reality would be kind of horrific or disgusting or whatever, and that's fun. It's very
Oh my
fun.
God, yeah. The scene with him and was it
Homelander and
it was Homelander and
Firecracker.
Ashley. Was it? Oh, Firecracker. It was
Firecracker, yeah.
Yeah, and he's just like, oh man, he was gross before, but just like he's so gross.
Nervously,
Just webbing.
yeah, yes, thank you. I was trying to find the right word.
It's like web vomit though. Like he was just like diarrhea webbing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, probably because if he's a junkie and
Yeah.
he doesn't have, he doesn't have drugs, then that can happen. But it's weird to me that he would just confess not knowing what the questions really are about, because if he works with them, he should know that Homelander is basically homicidal, right? Don't they all know that?
Well, I
Think
mean,
so?
I feel like he probably did know that, especially if he had whatever deal worked out with Tech Knight that he was going to be Tech Knight's new sidekick. Like he knows how kind of messed up these guys are, but also like he's clearly, I don't know, kind of an idiot. Doesn't make the best decisions.
Yeah.
I think the one who didn't quite understand the depth of it was Firecracker,
Right.
Yeah.
but she does now because Homelander just ripped the guy in half with his hands. She seemed
Well, she knows
very
enough to
upset by
know-
that.
She doesn't know enough to know to take hormones so she can lactate.
How did she know that, by the way?
That was another like thing at the end of like last week's episode. Where it's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. What is it with Mother's Milk? We even have a good guy character named Mother's Milk. Like everything.
You're right.
What
Interesting.
is it, Garth Ennis? What's going on here?
I've heard some things. No, I don't know. Not specific. I don't know. I lost where I was gonna go with that.
That'll happen.
I,
Lactation
Yeah.
will do that.
I know where I was gonna go with it.
Yeah.
Did you say lactation?
Yeah.
Um. Okay. Now there is the thing where it's like, why are people upset about the season? How did conservatives not see that they were kind of being jabbed at as like the villains, right?
Right.
That said, and I agree. Honestly, you got to be kind of dense to not have picked it up before the season. They're just so blatant with everything this season. More so, I think. Way more so.
They even have a January 6th. That's where I was like, that's a little on the nose.
Specifically January 6th.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I think it's fine in this current climate. Why not? What's it matter? You need to be blunt.
Yeah.
But it, with all the there's a lot of news that's been really irritating me lately, and all the Supreme Court stuff and just everything. And then watching this, I was kind of like, this is not any kind of escapism, because there's at a certain point, I think when Starlight and Huey are talking about the abortion or whatever, and I'm just like, this just feels like a reality show right now. This does not feel like we're watching a show about superheroes.
Well, and the showrunner was talking about how Roe v. Wade had just happened when they started shooting this season, and they were like, "Do we go there?" And they were like, "Hell yeah, we go there."
Mm-hmm.
When have we not?
That's interesting. In the past, if you'd have done these storylines, it'd be like, okay, yep, nope, that's good commentary. It's a little exaggerated as to where we're actually at. But now I kind of feel like they have to go further than they probably would have just to meet the reality.
Yeah.
It's kind of like one of the, I don't think he even works for Rockstar anymore. Maybe it was even the Rockstar CEO. But talking about GTA 6 or so, because GTA has always been like satire, know, it's our world, but like exaggerated. And at a certain point, they're like, I don't think they knew where to go with GTA 6, because they're like,
oh yeah,
everything that we would have put in there is not satire anymore. It's just reality.
Yeah.
Like all the satire we would have come up with is just kind of the world we're in now. So we don't know what to do.
Oh man, yeah. When your job is to make a hyper violent thing, like beyond reality.
Right. And to this have little plot lines or stuff with these politicians, or have commercials that are satirize, current society. But it's kind of where a lot of comedians fell into the last, we'll say going back 8 years or so,
right?
Where they end up just kind of becoming political comedians, because they're like, well, I can't really do satire anymore. There's no satire to it. You just comment on the thing. It sounds like satire, but you're just commenting on the thing. So I kind of feel like, it's interesting, the boys this season going as bluntly obvious with it. Not that they didn't previous seasons. They were always on the nose.
Sure.
But like you said, they're even specifically name checking January 6th and stuff, like blatantly, I don't know. It's interesting.
And then man, I mean, because there is a subplot for absolutely every character in this show.
Yeah.
So Frenchie turns himself in, and then immediately gets busted out. Kumiko comes clean about why she can't talk, and it's like, holy cow. I mean, I guess it makes sense. I guess it tracks now, but
it's fine. It's better than them not having anything to do. Although I kind of feel like her character has kind of had nothing to do this season. I know they've kind of done a few things. Frenchie's subplot, it's better than him not having anything to do, or just kind of retreading what they've already done with him. but it really did still feel like it came out of left field.
Nowhere.
Right.
Yeah, but
I don't like what they've done with the Deep because it doesn't seem he never grew from anything that ever happened to him. Nothing ever changed. He's still the same stupid like dude that he has been. I don't necessarily like that. Yeah, but
Right.
the A Train thing is good.
Yeah, I've
The
liked
A-Train thing
what
is
they're
good.
doing with that. Yeah.
Yeah, because he seemed pretty irredeemable for a long time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I feel like that they've kind of handled that in a kind of organic way.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like the Frenchie thing, okay, sure, he's definitely always been moody and stuff, but it didn't feel like the most organic turn that he would just like totally climb up not to talk to what's her name and then go turn himself in and like that seemed weird.
Yeah.
Especially since I get certain things, bad things he's done in his past would like probably weigh on him heavier, but I never got the notion that he was like anything but kind of a bad dude. Like he's not overall, he's more morally aligned than some of the outright villains, but like, he's still like done some pretty bad things and you just accept that.
Holly and I were talking about it. Like we do a walk every night, and we were talking about it. And she cannot watch the show. The gore is just too much for her. And then especially when in the early seasons it involved like animals and stuff. When the whale exploded, I was like, "There's no way she can watch this show." But we were talking about it, and she's like, "Man, I kind of wish that I could watch this show because it sounds like they're skewering everybody, and they're even skewering the left." And I was like, have they though? But like it wasn't until this most recent one where like see something, say something. I was like, well, that's a pretty popular catchphrase from the left, and they co-opted it to the VOT.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was like, okay, I guess I could see where that is, where it's like, okay, anybody could be this fascist regime if they weren't careful.
Yeah.
I mean, along those lines, and they touched on it this last episode where Huey went to go talk to Newman. Newman, she's on the other side. She's clearly like a Democrat type. But she's a villain. And she might not like...
Yeah. Well, even Bobby
like
and the
the
Bobby
idea.
Singer character, his idea was basically to put all these restrictions on the soups and say that the soups can't be in the military and da 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 da.
And it's kind of it doesn't, at least what I'm pulling from it, maybe it's because of personal bias, but like echoes a little bit my sentiment about, the whole like two-side system we've got going on where it's one side and then like that same side only a little lighter and pretending
without getting meta,
side.
you're like, we are reaping the duopoly right now. We are reaping what we have sown for so many hundreds of years.
We're the same side. Both sides are essentially working to different shades of the same goal, and pretending that no, we're not working towards the same goal when they're working towards the same goal. Yeah, Newman's character kind of really exemplifies that.
And my argument was like, well, if Homelander's side is the right, then that makes the boys the left.
Yeah.
And they're not exactly good guys. Even Starlight, who was like kind of your moral beacon for a long time, beat this woman into a bloody pulp on television. I'm not saying she didn't have a good reason, but not the tolerant left.
Right.
I'm not wild about what they've done with her this season either. Just like she just kind of seems like a mess, and like, and that's fine, but like, I don't know, not in a good way, not in a particularly interesting way. You know, yeah.
Okay, so we haven't talked about the Fight Club of it all, really. We've just kind of hinted around it.
Okay,
I
so before
accidentally
we go
restarted
ahead.
that episode where we find out and seeing Negan like slap around that scientist and be like wakey wakey eggs and bakey, and I got to see like how they do a quick cut and then Negan's back behind Butcher who's waking him up. And it's like, man, they did some clever stuff with it. It's like
Interesting.
it looks like Negan is the one that's actually waking him up, but it's really Butcher. But we're seeing it from Negan's perspective or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might be worth a revisit, some of those scenes. Because I felt like I didn't necessarily need the Fight Club flashback little cuts it did to it, where it's like him just talking to nobody, right? But I loved the reveal to where he just turns, where Negan, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. Well, he even does
a
Negan line. Isn't Daddy's home? Isn't that a Negan line?
Is it? Okay.
I think so.
He turns to the ex-wife, who Butcher has been hallucinating all season, and tells her to shut up. And for a moment, you're just like, wait, what is happening here?
Yeah.
Before it sinks in, like, oh, I was like, that's such a good reveal. Like, that's such a good way to do that reveal. Yeah, well done. That was such a good moment. There's a lot of characters just losing their minds this season.
Yeah.
You know, like,
yeah, most of them.
Just really hallucinating.
Huey is the most put together, and he's not okay.
No, he's not okay.
He's kind of got the least to be put together about.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess at least he did still have people. Like, it seems like a lot of the other ones just don't have anybody anymore.
Yeah, or not anybody that, like, what's her Sister Sage? Apparently was sleeping with Noir and Blue.
Right, and the Deep, yeah.
Yeah, there you go, the Deep. He let his octopus girlfriend die, because of Sage.
Yeah.
And then which I want to know. I want more of her backstory because I don't understand her. I don't understand. I mean, obviously, she seems like she's playing everybody, but I don't understand her. I don't understand it. So
I loved her little speech to Newman at the party, and I think that's a little bit of insight, where I think she is just playing everybody because F everybody, especially F men, but F people in general. And that makes sense for somebody hyper intelligent, how they would just get like so disillusioned with society. So I get that. I don't get. I'm so curious as to how it's going to turn out with her, because if she's so smart, the smartest person in the world, how could she not see this situation with Homelander going sideways on her? Like, is it that just arrogance, thinking that she'd be able to play him and everybody else? Because she obviously didn't account for scenarios like at that party where she got taken out of commission, essentially, for a crucial moment. Yeah. Plus, she had to know she wouldn't be able to keep Homelander in check.
Yeah, you're dealing with such unpredictable elements, like you can account for everything, but when everybody's so unpredictable, there's a certain point where the statistics break down,
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of it maybe she accounted for. Like, even she's the one who picked Firecracker, right? So she might have even figured that she would turn him against her eventually. But, like, yeah, getting shot in the head, she can't know that that's going to happen.
Right. And you think she'd have a contingency plan for most things.
Yeah.
But I guess they're not necessarily going over the top Sherlock, Sherlock Holmes style. Guy Ritchie or Moffat Sherlock, where they're just like processing at super speed,
I don't know. Like it has been genuinely entertaining though this season has been. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's
Mm-hmm.
not. I don't even know. I don't know if it's the best season. But it's got me coming back every week as opposed to like um in the past I'd just watch a couple at a time.
Mm-hmm.
It feels different. I almost feel like either they have less budget or they're pushing budget aside for specific episodes, which a show is prone to do because it even though they're building to like a bigger scope of like, you know, enslaving the world essentially, starting
Mm-hmm.
with America and fascism and all this.
Yeah.
The scope of the plans are bigger, but the scope of the action and just the general day-to-day episode-to-episode goings on of these characters seems a lot smaller in scope than previous episodes. Just
Mm-hmm.
thinking, or previous seasons, just thinking about the whale boat scene where they're out at sea and there's this whale and then they're
yeah.
in the sub that goes right into some like uh underground tunnel, what's it called, sewer system, and then it busts out into a big action scene in the city, or the big action scenes with like it seems like Maeve got thrown in the mix a lot.
Oh, yeah.
It just seemed like this production scope was grander in previous seasons than this season, where it's a lot of like they're over here, they're over
They
here,
were
little
talking about
smaller locations.
though that they spent an awful lot of budget on that stupid Vod on Ice thing. We like
Really?
they got like actual figure skaters and the music and like everything's actually produced for that stupid Vought on Ice thing. And they were
But
like,
why?
you would not believe how much money that cost just to make that happen. It's like that's
Weird.
Crazy.
a one episode nonsense thing. I mean, it's a thread for a while. Like you see little Easter eggs for it, and then eventually there you are,
Mm-hmm.
Vought on
Yeah, there's
Ice.
commercials. They play commercials for it occasionally.
And the way that all plays out is kind of ridiculous too. Ruth Goldberg, a Goldberg machine, death machine of like, especially this one guy like trying to get out of there ends up killing two or three people along his way. But it's like for why? Why was
Yeah.
that necessary? Weird. Okay, so budget just spent in weird places. One
Yeah.
thing I was
Sheep.
amused by CG flying sheep. That's not
Not
cheap.
cheap.
I was amused to hear there's the one. It's kind of a throwaway almost where they're talking about. I don't think it was this last episode, but maybe the episode before. The advertising where they're like, you know, digital ad replacement where like if so and so's watching it, it'll be this brand of liquor, but if so and so somebody else is watching it, it'll be this brand. This like weird digital ad replacement thing depending on who's viewing. And the reason that is in there, I was reading an article about, is because Amazon came to the showrunners and was like, "Hey, we can do this thing where, you know, we'll do product placement in the show, and depending who's watching it, it'll be personalized to the viewer. Do you want to take part in that?" And they were like, "No, but we're definitely putting that in the show." And so that's where that came from. That's a thing that Amazon really does or wanted to do or
that's funny.
offered to them. And they're
So like in the
"No,
South,
that's
they wanted it to be Coke, and like on the West Coast, it could
Yes.
be Pepsi.
right."
Crazy.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not like The Boys hasn't had plenty of product placement in the past where it's been kind of evident, and they kind of leaned into it. So maybe that's why. Maybe Amazon's like, "Hey, you guys seem real open to this stuff."
Right.
They made it so racist though when they used it in the show.
Right. Of course. All right, I'm hearing weird stuff.
Ooh.
Okay, well now that was you. Oh, anything else? We should probably wrap this up soon.
I mean, that's basically it. Is I've been enjoying it. It's definitely been entertaining, although weird,
Yeah.
Yeah.
oddly political, interesting new characters. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They just have such a Human Centipede, thinking about Multiple Man. There's been
Oh my
lots
god!
of takes on
It's
Multiple
like,
Man.
what if multiple man, but he can't duplicate his clothes, so they're
Right.
all buck ass naked. Oh, he's
Yep.
ass.
That's okay.
Oops. You meant donkey, right?
Yeah, that's what I meant. Buck
Yeah,
butt naked.
and how can we take this to the extreme? Oh, he's at a con. Naturally, he's going to go off to the bathroom and set up a human centipede on himself. Yeah, I'm not saying Supercell or any other show has to go that route, but it's just the point of like, if you're going to do kind of like the same superpowers we've seen over and over again, bring something new to the table. It doesn't have to be the boys new. That's a very specific
doesn't have to be new
thing, but bring something interesting to the table.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to trash that show, by the way. It might be great, but that was my impression of the powers. Anyway.
It was pretty amazing.
Yeah, you know what else is amazing?
Yeah. What?
Brains. They're amazing, but as awesome as they are also fragile, and they succumb to damage and disease. And unfortunately, in a new review of 332 articles over several decades, researchers at the University College of London have discovered that the incidence, prevalence, and severity of many neurological disorders are affected by climate change. In some countries, the rising temperature and humidity were associated with higher incidence of stroke. And then in others, hit with extreme cold waves, saw increased risk of intracerebral hemorrhage. The higher temperatures also saw rises in migraine, tick-bone encephalitis, mosquito-borne infections, Alzheimer, and dementia-related hospital admissions. And the impetus for the review came from epilepsy patients complaining about an increase in symptoms during heat waves. There hasn't been much direct research on the effect of climate change on neurology, but seeing as how it seems to be here to stay, it would be wise for healthcare industries to take measures now for the increased needs that are likely to be coming. That was the conclusion drawn by the researchers. So
amazing.
Yep.
She gave me two options for stories. They both were depressing.
They both were because of climate change too.
Yeah.
That's like all the news anymore is
getting
bad
old
news.
is fun.
Yeah.
Hey Jesse, you got anything exciting coming up you want to mention before we jump out of here?
I've got a con next weekend. I'm gonna go to a tabletop con, and I'm gonna be selling some art and stuff. So just doing that. If there's anybody local that hears this on the replay or whatever, come see me. That's the main thing. And then also, if you like the boys, and you want to know more about the boys, there is still a Humble bundle running right now at grawlixpodcast.com/humble. You could get it. You could pick it up and get it for yourself and read the actual comic, which is wildly different in a lot of ways.
Right.
Like A-Train's a white dude. I didn't know that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Apparently, the boys has done the best at like gender swapping / diversifying the cast.
Yeah.
So
is Maeve really a dude?
I don't know. That'd be interesting.
Yeah. Grawlixpodcast.com/humble. That's our affiliate link. It'll redirect you through our affiliate link and take you to humble.com. Yeah, we got to wrap it up here soon because we're coming up on 10, and that's our hard out on Helix Rock Radio. If you're listening to us over there, thank you. If you're not, you can listen to us audio only. Maybe you don't need to see our mugs sweating away. That's at rockradio.live. Go there. And then finally, hey, I'm releasing a bunch of music. Go to superscience.xyz. I'm releasing several new songs this week, or this month, leading up to a new album. It's called Corruptor. It's basically a complete reworking of my first album, Redeemer.
Oh.
Because that album is celebrating its 10th anniversary this month. It released July 30th, 2014. So on July 30th, 2024, Corruptor is being released, and I completely reworked, remade, envisioned all the songs. I mean, there's only like 5 songs on that album, but the whole album. So yeah. Also, and I have a single releasing that's a cover as part of another project. It's a Super Science song, but it's a cover of a artist by the name of Kid Lightbulbs. So that'll be out the 19th. That's what I got going on.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll see you next week, most likely.
Yeah.
You know, never any promises. that's what you get.
We don't do those. No.
We don't do promises anymore.
It's the Grawlix charm. No promises.
All right. Bye, everybody. Have a great weekend. Thursdays can get bent.
They can.
Mm-hmm.
And we're about to get out of here.